you just said?
From all the research, and I think what Mr. Williams found out in his conference week is a suggestion from the State Board of Education. It's not a mandate. But there is there is the persuasion for both school boards to make a resolution or a policy, I guess, for the state.
Right. Whether it's a policy adoption or administrative regulations that are put into place. And there's legal guidance on either, depending on which way the board chooses to go.
Okay, but as board policy, when it comes up, the state's not going to say, here's your rules.
No.
It's
As of right now, it's a suggestion.
Okay.
It's not a law or a mandate. So right now, it is a suggestion. But
Federally, what we've seen are some Dear Colleague letters that have come out that give some prescriptive guidelines that in essence have informed some of the law on this topic. So what this workshop I went to, one of the sessions was on this very topic with how to guide the legal ramifications of policy adoptions and guideline discussions. So.
Could I say something? If anyone is interested in what these guidelines are, you can go to everyvoicecountsmi.org, and they have the guidelines there, and pay especially attention to the sources that they get their information from. It's mostly all LGBT agenda.
Gotcha. All right. Anyone
Thank
else?
you. Motion?
I have a motion by Mr. Masters and support by Mrs. Deline that we close audience participation. Any discussion? Can I just suggest that with with the point that was brought up by Stan and I, that maybe we can take a consideration of that. That's very good points that were made tonight. And I know I started school when I was 4 and struggled in my early years, and one of my sons did as well.
I did as well.
So I understand. So, and with the preschool, it isn't something that we know just because of what Ms. Delaney said tonight about we have a waiting list now because of Head Start taking less students, that more parents need preschool for their children, and if there's not a place, sometimes they're throwing into the academic world earlier than they need to be. So we could maybe look at what we're doing with all of that.
Well, the timing of Ms. Dana's comments tonight is pretty good in the sense that Mary Ann and I just not too long ago with Amy Fessler as well as with our administrative team talked about the notion of a Young Fives program. Again, does it fit for everyone? Maybe not, but it's one more of those bridge program opportunities that allows a developmentally of need student that additional year in a program that we have, kind of that blend of the socialization and the maturation opportunity with some early literacy and numeracy, growth opportunities. So a Young Fives program can be one of those solutions, especially for those kids who are on that younger end. And rather than play catch up, then they're ready when they enter kindergarten.
May I ask a question too? Because don't we do kindergarten roundup in the springtime for the following year? And at least my children are now 25 and 27, so it's been a while ago, but they had kindergarten roundup, and the kindergarten teachers were all there and evaluated students on their readiness to participate in kindergarten. And there were, my daughter was a 4-year-old, her birthday September 26th, and she's started school, but there were some students, after discussion with the teacher, the parents decided not to allow them to start in the fall. So are we doing that? We're not doing that anymore?
Do you want me to talk, Mrs. Delaney?
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Kindergarten.
absolutely.
To go with Rhonda, I have 4 that are September, 2 Septembers in October, and a late November 21st birthday. When we had open house, we only had 7, I think there were 7 children that came over. Well, our kindergarten right now is at 60. So we can't monitor the other 50-some kids that come in as to whether they can write their name or, you know, that they know their numbers to 20, things like that. So when they do come in, and I'm gonna give you an example, because one of my little ones that is a late birthday, last week, and I have talked to the parent, when he went into the bathroom, because you know my room, I have a boys' bathroom and a girls' bathroom in my classroom, and Marion, you've been in there.
I have.
He stripped completely down. Shoes, socks, pants, underwear, shirt, everything in the bathroom. I'm thinking, why is he not out yet? And I said his name a couple times. And, I'm getting it. I can't get my sock on, is what he's yelling to me. He's a November birthday. And that's what we have a hard time, because I can't go into the restroom and help him get dressed. I have had children that have been young, like Rhonda said, that have asked me to wipe their behinds, and I can't do that. So when you're the cutoff, and for anyone who didn't know, the district, the state, it was a 4-year program. They moved it back from December to November to October to September. There should have been a cutoff for this year that all children be 5 by September 1st. But the waivers are still going on. So that's causing kindergarten, Young Fives would be a perfect program if you can get it for us. But that's the issue, is that the maturity, developmental, and I'm going to say it, especially the boys, the statistics show that they are younger than the girls, even in academics. Sorry guys, but it's true.
In my previous experience, June 1st was the cutoff for young fives. And with in my previous experience, we used some of the early literacy grant money to do a jump start and pay kindergarten teachers a stipend to come in mid-August and simulate a kindergarten experience for students where they came in a few days. And then in the afternoons, there were scheduled times for teachers to actually do some very quick testing in order to appropriately place students in classes. Having arrived July 1, I didn't come at a great time, so those are all things on our list of things to discuss.
And I think, as we all know, the more information you have, the better. So if you can share that pre-assessment or the KTEA, whatever that assessment piece we use at kindergarten level, if you can share that information with parents and you have other options like a Young Fives, then that helps parents make that informed decision. Parents still, by law, do have that right to a waiver if they really want to do that. However, again, if presented with all of the opportunities and information and not only what it might do that year, but let's fast forward 9 years down the road, or let's take a look at when your child has a license relative to the rest of their peers. So, just kind of having those discussions and that opportunity really can help. So I appreciate everyone raising the topic.
All of the students parents have to fill out a waiver if their child is not 5 by September 1st, is that correct? Yeah, that is correct.
Yes.
And do we grant all the waivers, or do we have the option to not grant them? How does that?
You have to.
You have to.
If they demand it, then that's what happens.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? I have a motion by Mr. Masters and support by Mrs. Salini. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes 7-0. Next item, please.
3.01 Superintendent, Assistant Superintendent reports.
All right, I've got a couple things I'll pass out. Here you go. Kim, thank you for pulling up the PowerPoint, because I'll leave that in just a minute as well. I've got a bundle of stuff. So what you have on the top sheet is my typical superintendent write-up, and behind that you'll see a couple of sheets from pupil accounting. One is before I jump into that first paragraph, one is a kind of a summary from our pupil accounting director, Dan Creswell, that takes a look back at number of out-of-district school of choice applications versus total number of students enrolled. And he gives you a breakdown there, fall 2016, 2015, looking back to 2011. When he is saying, for example, 599 students not retained, that doesn't mean not failed. What it means is they didn't stay. So MyStar showed an all-time high enrollment. If you rewind back to September 5, the first, the day before school, we had 7,320 students on the books in MyStar. We knew, as we do every year, that with new enrollees into the district, there's also folks that leave the district. And so that's that differential number of drops. And so one thing we, Marianne and I, through both of our offices did, working with the building principals, was to accelerate the drop count by about 2 days. Typically we do it on day 7, where we ask the administrators and the teachers to really do a hard count, comparing the number of bottoms in the seat, the students physically there, versus the number we show in MyStar. Just because they've enrolled doesn't mean they actually show up. So you can take a look at the data there as a look back. So the first sheet behind my summary is Dan's summary. And then on the next sheet, where you see all of the lengthy columns, what you have is 2016. The first column is September 23. The column beside that is September 9. So that gives you a look across what happened from that first week of school out to last week, so right at the end of last week. And so if you take, for example, just to look at a grade, the projection for Eureka Heights Elementary Kindergarten was 50 total. That was his MyStar projection based on roll-up numbers coming out of preschool. On September the 9th, we had 57, so we were 7 above. On September 23, we had 53. And so if you look at the net loss, that column second from the right is down 4. So there's your loss between 57 to 53, and then the relative percent. So you can go by grade, by building, and look at the September 9th number by grade, the September 23 number by grade, whether it increased or decreased, the relative percent of increase or decrease, and then if you flip to the back, you'll see that his projection in that bold column was a final student enrollment number of 6,701.